Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and today it is off the board with pineapple papers. So this is my Pinterest pin. I will be scraplifting this layout. I love this designer. I have actually used one of these layouts for off the board with pineapple papers a couple weeks ago, and once I saved that one, a bunch of her other ones have been showing up for me since I showed interest in the one, and I've just loved every single one of them. So I really liked how Larry this one looked. You'll hear me say it a lot in the next layout, which isn't until Saturday, but this one is my last layout with this collection, even though you're not seeing it last. So this is a layout where I knew I wanted to get as much of this collection used up as possible. I wanted it to be super layery. I want to cram all these embellishments on here. And I just felt like that layout was the perfect design to really inspire me to get all this stuff used up. I love the design as it was, but it just lends itself very well to being layery, and I thought it was just perfect for this collection as well. I've been saving the striped paper. I don't quite know why. I had a large chunk of a navy blue scrap from a previous page, and I loved how the navy blue scrap looked on this pink and white stripe, so I knew I wanted to use those papers together at some point, and I kept saving them to use with this photo, which ended up being the final layout. So now that I have my scraps I've accumulated, I'm really just gonna go ham and layer. So I've already used a scrap of the brown wood grain as my mat around the photo. I went in with a scrap of that butterfly print after that, and then the feather news print after that. I'm just staggering these layers, making them interesting. I'm inking everything in brown, and I'm just trying to get what I have used up. This is one of my favorite parts of the collection. It's always bittersweet when I'm using a kit and I get to the last page, but I always have so much fun when I'm just like, all right, this is it. Get everything used up. And you really just, my mind is so frugal. I am always trying to save what I can. It's nice having that freedom to just use all the things. So that's kind of where I'm at on this layout. Pretty much all of these bits are bits that I have gutted from other pages. So it's just fun to finally get them all used up and see how fun this page turns out with things that I wouldn't have had if I didn't save them. So now that I know the proportion I want this blue layer, I really want that one to be the larger layout or layer from my inspiration that has the notebook edge punch along the top. I love this punch. Kelly gave me this punch over a year ago, and it's still my favorite border punch. And I really like using it, especially for like school layouts or test layouts or layouts that have something to do with office supplies, like that kind of thing. But it's a really versatile punch. I feel like you can use on anything, and I really like how it was used on the original sketch. So I really wanted to use it on this one. I think that detail with this dark paper going onto a lighter paper, the contrast is just really cool. So now that I have all of that, I'm now trying to figure out what layers I'm going to use for the other aspects of the page. This is pretty much the main portion of the layering. And then the sketch had a couple vertical pieces going up. It had like a ticket and some other ephemera bits creating a vertical line of sight. And then there's some chevron arrows on either side pointing in towards the photo. I decided instead of cutting chevron pieces, I would just again do a fishtail banner. I really liked doing that this month, if you haven't noticed. So I'm taking the feather newsprint paper and I'm just creating a fishtail banner on either side. It creates that same look as the chevrons do from the original. So I decided to do that instead. And now that I have that little horizontal element from the original, I can really start working on the vertical aspect. There's a lot of layering on the vertical, so that's really what I want to focus on now that I have the base of all of these layers down. I'm just really trying to make sure that I put this fishtail banner in line, so I'm using my grid mat to keep that lined up, and I tweak that a lot because I kept putting them too far apart and they ran off the page, and so I wanted them tucked in a little more. So once I get all that spatially how I want it, I'll start working on the vertical. You can see I'm holding a tiny little scrap of a doily from a previous page. I want to stick that on here. My inspiration photo, she had multiple doilies on her page, and I really like how layery and textured that made it look. I don't think I'm going to pull in multiple doilies, but I had that scrap of that one white one, and so I definitely wanted to get that one on here somehow. Yeah, I'm going in with this wood plank distressed scrap as one of the first vertical layers. I wanted something kind of toned down and simple because I know on top of this I'm going to be throwing all of this ephemera bit on top. So I want something that's a good base for all of those florals and butterflies. And now I'm trying to create, once I get this glued down, I definitely want to incorporate the ticket vertical element that was in the original as well. So I'll end up taking that pink scrap to the left there, the skinny one, and cutting it into a ticket shape, and that will end up sticking top and bottom as well. But I really like the different textures of all of these different looking edges, how they look together. I love the notebook punch with the doily, with the ticket shape. I just think it's all really interesting, the fishtail banner. So, and the torn edge, the original didn't have the torn edge on that blue layer, but my layer was already like that from where I'd torn it, from where I used that paper on a different like layout. And I really just think it went with the design, so I just kept it. Again, inking, and none of these pieces are quite long enough to be how I need them to be, but they're all tucked into these photo bits, so I'm just tearing them in the middle and stretching them. So now you can see that ticket on either side, and I think I'm going to start with the embellishment. The embellishment was a lot of fun. I had a ton of pink florals. I did not really use a lot of the pink florals this month. I used all the blue flowers. But these pink florals, I thought with this layout, it was just the perfect time to really just do a pink flower garden with all these butterflies in it. That's where I decided to put the doily scraps. So I'm just going to get that glued up there. But I think that's a nice little added texture. And then I think we'll finally get to the ephemera. But yeah, you can see all my ephemera up there. I mentioned in my next layout, but again, it's not till Saturday. But all of the feather ephemera I'm not using. I'm ignoring them and pretending they don't exist. I love the feathers in this collection. That feather book print, newsprint paper, I'm in love with it. But for whatever reason, the feather ephemera is reading really purple, and I'm just not wanting to accentuate the purple. So that's why I'm leaving the feathers out of it. I feel like I have another collection, like a Prima Marketing collection that has more purple in it, and I think actually has feathers in it. So I'm actually going to put the feathers from this kit in with that collection to hopefully use them then. But I did not want to use any of those feather ephemera bits with this kit for some reason, even though I love them on the 12 by 12. So pretty much everything else I'm now trying to cram on here. I have one more little word piece that says fly high, and I think just it's butterflies, so I'm getting it on here. But yeah, this is pretty much just me sticking everything down. I'm trying to spread out the butterflies. I'm trying to really layer up the flowers to fill in the dead space. I just want there to be a lot of ephemera layers on here. I think it's so much fun. I think I'm almost done too. There are those 3 butterflies to the left there. I do not get used up. I kind of like that there's 3 left over because that will be perfect to create a visual triangle whenever, and they're black and white, so I feel like they can really go on other collections easily. But those 3 black and white butterflies, I decided not to use because I had enough as it was, and I didn't want to just cram all the butterflies on there and then it look like it was too much. So, because right now my butterflies that I have layered create a visual triangle, and I just think if I would have added all the butterflies, it would have just been like, ooh, that's too much. So those 3 butterflies I'm going to save and hopefully get on with a different collection at some point. But I do like that there's 3 left over because, like I said, that'll just help create a visual triangle whenever I need a black and white embellishment for a page. But now I kind of figure out where everything's going to go, so I'm going to go ahead and start sticking stuff down. This part's always really frustrating where I place everything down to see where I like it, and then I have to go back and glue every little piece down. So I'm just going through and doing that. I'm trying to remember where I had everything. But I just love how layery it looks. I'm going to keep saying that, but I just think like I haven't done a page like this month, even though this collection was like made to do pages like this. So, and I think it's fun. I can't wait until the layout share at the end of the month, because I feel like it's going to be really fun flipping through all these layouts in the order that I created them and seeing, because I noticed in the beginning I did a lot simpler layouts so I could start accumulating scraps and also not use the ephemera too quickly. But as the month went along, my layouts just got more and more layery, and I just like how the process of this month, how my layouts kind of like segued into now this, my final layout. So that'll be fun to kind of flip through and see. But I think this side is almost done, and then I just have my mini cluster on the right side. And then I'm just trying to figure out what I wanted to do as far as like a title and like my little finishing touches. I actually really did not want to pull gold on this layout in at all. At this point, I've used all of the Denise charms, so I really don't have a reason to pull in gold unless I was going to use one of them. But I do have 6 of those glass bead little water droplet ephemera bits left, or embellishment things left. And I thought, again, I just love how those look on this collection. I started using them a lot in the beginning of the month, and then I started using like my liquid pearls that Lisa gave me and those gold brads that I found at a thrift shop. So I stopped using these, and this is the final layout. I really wanted to use the rest of them because I did not want to go down the gold route. So I'll pull those in. You can kind of see here, this has a large vertical area of embellishment to the left here. But the butterflies, even though they're kind of part of the same large cluster, create your visual triangle. So I have the large butterfly to the left there, and then the pink butterfly at the top, and then the black and white butterfly over to the right. So I kind of feel like that helps break it up and create your visual triangle, even though there's just ephemera everywhere. So that's kind of what I decided to do. And then there's still little bits of that butterfly wreath that I had left over from whatever page I used that butterfly wreath on. So I did just stick those in a couple areas as well, just to add extra layering and extra whatever. And then I decided, once I stepped back and looked at it, I wanted one more kind of beefy vertical element to kind of ground all of this. So I had another scrap of the black and white butterfly print that I'm going to add as another vertical element just tucked behind that lighter wood grain. And I think that makes a huge difference, even though it's pretty like a simple layer. I just like how that looks behind that other layer. And I think it really beefs out that cluster or that layery bit. So now that I have that down, here's the rest of the butterfly wreath. I'm going to try and squeeze this on here. This layout really, like, I've done the my inspiration at this point. Now I'm just trying to get the rest of what I have used. So this little butterfly wreath is going to arc around the big butterfly as another little layery piece. I think that's kind of sweet. This is one of the more multicolored, if you can call it that, layouts of this month, since I'm using the pinks and the blues together, because I pretty much have been just picking one or the other to really focus on. So I really wanted to get the multicolored butterfly wreath used up, so I'm tucking that in. And then there's like one lone little tiny pink butterfly that I'll add to the right hand cluster too, just to get all of that on there. But I think we're almost done. I do have to go in and add those glass beads. And then I really like the scripty look of the bold scripty look of the title on the original. So I am going to kind of look through my stash to see if I can find like a word thicker that's big and scripty and kind of bold to be my title for this one, because my gold thickers are pretty low, and also I'm trying not to pull gold in on this one. But I just think it'll look really good. Like, this layout is so like layery. I think a big bold scripty like title will just really look nice. So, and you can kind of see, I don't know if it bothers anybody else, but the upper left hand corner to the left of these layers, I did just add that that torn vellum piece too. I love how that looks, but I just feel like it's missing something, the upper left hand corner. So once I kind of figure out what thicker sheet I'm going to use, that'll help me kind of finish out my embellishment as well. But I think I'm almost done gluing pieces down. Yeah, so here are those glass beads. My final 6, I've stretched those out pretty far. I think it's been over a year since I ordered those as well, and I'm finally getting them all used up. So I know there's 6, and I know I want to have a visual triangle, so I'm just trying to spread those 3 out next to each of my 3 larger butterflies. And I'm just going to glue that down with my Nuvo clear drying craft glue. And then I will go on the hunt for the thickers. I love how this layout looks as is, but for whatever reason, when I find my thickers, they're bold and black, and I feel like it really adds a lot of youth to the page. I just don't know if everyone will feel that way, because it has a specific aesthetic right now. But when I add the thickers, they're just so bold and black and juicy, and I feel like it adds so much youth to the page, like I said. And I just think that they were the perfect final touch, and I like how it changed this layout and pulled it into this kind of, I don't know, younger look. And it's my layout in my engagement photos, so I'm gonna do it. I did think about using these 3 black dots as my 3rd cluster. I know I want this black in 3 areas, so again, it creates a visual triangle, but so that the title itself doesn't look out of place being super bold. But those 3 dots were right next to the 2 glass beads, and it was too many dots around each other, so I switched that out to a smaller arrow. But this is it. This is my final layout. You guys will see one more, like I said, on Saturday, but this is the last one I made with the collection, and I just love how it turned out. So make sure you check out everyone else playing along with Off the Board with Pineapple Papers. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.